Hi, welcome again. So, in this lesson, let us talk about the rest of the three fundamental test process activities. So far, we have learnt about test planning and control, followed by test analysis and design. The rest of the three activities are test implementation and execution. That is our third activity. The fourth activity is evaluation of exit criteria and reporting, and the fifth and final activity is the test closure activity. So, in this lesson, let us talk about implementation and execution, evaluation of exit criteria and reporting, and test closure. So, what is test implementation and execution? So, at the time of test analysis and design, what we did, we have applied our minds, we created a lot of thinking around what to test, how to measure the coverage, how to analyze testability of the test basis, then what is the important data that is needed to be set up to do good testing, and also the type of test environment we need to set up. All those ideas, all those thinking we have created in our minds at the time of test analysis and design. Now, in the test implementation time, what we have to do, we have to translate those ideas into concrete documentation, and that is what we call it as implementation. After implementation, the next activity is executing the tests. So, in the implementation or during the implementation phase, what we do, we prepare ground for decent test execution to follow without any interruptions. We should be able to conduct our test execution. That is why we perform a set of activities, and we call them as test implementation activities, or they are fundamentally test preparation activities. So, what you do, you develop test procedures and test suites. So far we talked about test cases, where in a test case you have a set of inputs, the execution preconditions, the expected results, the post conditions, all those things are documented. But sometimes the test case document may not be in a situation that another tester who did not participate in creating the test case will not be able to execute unless we provide some extra information about test execution process. So, the extra things that we add to your test case document, then the test case document will be called as test procedure document. So, you create them so that anybody can take this document and start test execution process. And also, you have to group a certain set of test procedures into what we call test suites. Test suites are nothing but groups of test procedures, or test sets we call them. So, you can group them based on various things like module wise grouping of test procedures, or positive test suite, negative test suite. So, variety of ways you can group them, but group of test cases or group of test procedures is known as test suites. Then you will, during the test preparation activity, you will create the test data that is needed for your test execution. And also, the next thing you do is verify your test environment. Everything has been set up properly, all the necessary software is installed or not, is the hardware good enough for conducting the test in a realistic manner. So, that you will do. Then you create and prioritize additional test cases also during implementation time. If at all anything you have forgotten or missed, or during reviews somebody has reported that some test cases can be added. So, actually create them also during the preparation time, and then you have to create what we call a test execution schedule. What does it mean? So, usually test execution happens in terms of cycles. So, who will do what test cases when? That execution schedule will have to be created by test leads, and that will be followed by the test engineers to conduct their test execution. Then once you have prepared ground for your test execution, now the real test execution starts. So, what happens in the test execution phase? You will execute manual test procedures in a priority order. Whatever priority set based on your risk analysis by your manager. Then while you are executing, you will not only follow the scripted test procedures that you have with you, but also you may explore the system based on your experience. So that's what we call a little bit of exploratory testing. You not only follow a scripted test procedure, but as you are testing and observing, new ideas might happen, and based on what you are observing and based on your experience, you do more than what is written in the test case. And at times you may be responsible for executing automated test suites. If you are sitting with a test procedure document and giving input and observing actual output and deciding whether a test has passed or failed, that is what we call manual testing. Testing performed by a human test engineer. But a lot of times some kind of testing can be done not by humans but computer itself using tools like QTP or Selenium. So if you are in charge of running those automated tests, you have to do that at the time of test execution. Then as you execute, what happens? You will observe a lot of things. So you will be following a schedule. So you will maintain a diary of your test execution. That's what we call it as test log. You chronologically list the test procedures and test cases executed. When you executed, what happened? You will note what has passed, what has failed, what is unknown at that time. You will have to log all of them. And also any unexpected incidents that happened during your execution process also you will log. And you will analyze some of the possible causes for those unexpected results. So all these logs are extremely important for the next activity that we perform. What is that next activity that we perform? We pause testing for a while and we evaluate exit criteria, and based on that we decide whether to stop testing or to continue testing. That is our fourth fundamental test process activity, that is evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. So what do we do here? We check test logs against the exit criteria. When did we set the exit criteria? We set the exit criteria or specified the exit criteria at the time of test planning. And now at the test execution time, we look at the logs and we check whether we have met our goals or not. And if we have not met our goals, we'll make a decision if more tests are required, or if sometimes based on stakeholder agreements, we may change the exit criteria. But without stakeholder permission, we cannot change the exit criteria. And without changing exit criteria, we cannot exit the test phase if we have not met exit criteria. Please keep that in mind. Then if you have met the exit criteria and you are closing the project, then much before that, what you have to do? You have to write a detailed test summary report. What all you have tested, with what purpose you tested, what happened as you did the testing, what are the incidents, what are the metrics. You have to assess, evaluate and give a report to your stakeholders. That is what happens during our fourth activity of fundamental test process, that is evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. So let us take a pause and do a little bit of knowledge check. So which of the following is a major task when evaluating the exit criteria? Which of the following is a major task when evaluating the exit criteria? That is our fourth fundamental test process activity. A. Creating test suites and cases for efficient execution. B. Writing a test summary report for stakeholders. C. Handing the testware to the maintenance organization. D. Identifying any required infrastructure and tools. So what is the answer? Yes, you are right. B is the right answer. Writing a test summary report for stakeholders. So let us do a little bit more. Check your understanding. So I have on the right side of your screen a set of tasks across the fundamental test process. What you have to do, you have to put them in the chronological order. So which task within the fundamental test process happens first, next, like that. So we have 5 tasks on the right side, so put them in the right order. So the first is deciding if more tests are required. Second is creating test procedures. Third one is establishing exit criteria. Fourth one is executing tests. Fifth one is reporting unexpected results. So out of these 5, which one happens first? Think. Yes, you are right. That is establishing exit criteria. That happens during our test planning phase. What follows that within this list of 5 here? So what is the second one? Yes, that is creating test procedures. That is what happens during your test implementation activity. Thinking about test procedures will happen, test analysis and design, but in this list, this is the second from a chronological order. The third one is, yes, executing tests. Then followed by evaluation of exit criteria. At that time, what happens? You report any unexpected results, and when you sit and evaluate exit criteria, you will decide if more tests are required or not. So this is how, from a fundamental test process point of view, these 5 tasks happen in this order. So hope you have understood the test implementation, execution, as well as evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. The last activity of our fundamental test process is test closure activity. Now the project is done, but before we move on to the next project, we have to do some tasks. So what are those tasks? The first one is verify that all planned deliverables have been produced. Whatever we agreed in this testing project have indeed been delivered. So check that. So the second, what you have to do during the testing project, you might have opened a lot of incident reports. So ensure that all of them have been closed, or some of the change requests that are still open, so keep them in reopened so that some of the people will look at it for the next release and improve them. And then the third one is document the system's acceptance. So it may be an acceptance kind of test where you have conducted test and somebody would have signed, agreed that yes, this is working, this is working, so hence I am accepting. So put a documentation around that. Then fourth one is finalizing and archiving testware, test environment and the test infrastructure for later use. Now the project is completed, but during the process of conducting this project, you have created a lot of artifacts like test procedures, test data, test environment specifications, the infrastructure details. So all of them, archive them. Archiving means saving them, putting them in one place. Then what you have to do in the fifth step is handing over the testware to the maintenance organization. Now you are out of this project, but the project will go to the next stage where the maintenance organization might come into and take responsibility. So hand over all the documentation related to testing to the maintenance organization. Then another important activity we have to do is that do a project post-mortem meeting. Means all of you, the project stakeholders who participated in the project, come into a meeting room and discuss what happened well in the project, lessons learned, to determine changes needed for future releases and projects. So now, using all this information, some of the improvements you can suggest to your organization. So using the information, you can improve the test maturity. So best practices can be told to your testing organization. So this is how formally you will close the project. So with that, we have completed the fifth activity of fundamental test process, that is our test closure activity. So before we conclude, let us do a knowledge check. So which of the following is a major test planning task? Determining the exit criteria, measuring and analyzing results, implementing corrective actions, monitoring and document progress. The answer is yes, determining the exit criteria. Let us do one more question. Which of the following is a key test closure task? A. Ensuring proper environment is set up. Writing a test summary report. C. Assessing the need for additional tests. D. Finalizing and archiving testware. Ensuring proper environment setup is done at the time of test implementation. Writing a test summary report will happen at the time of evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. Assessing the need for additional tests also happen at the time of evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. The D is the right answer, that is at the time of test closure we do finalize and archive the testware. So hope you have understood. For any questions that you may have on fundamental test process, please ask questions in the discussion forum. I will be answering your question, and also a very detailed notes for all of this chapter fundamental test process lesson we have put in your database. So please have a look at it and learn and have fun.